So this is one of my little happiest things in life, and I named it after my mom, Kitty. And this was made for me by Tom Anderson, who I think is one of the supreme guitar builders in the world. And yes, I paid for it. And yes, I paid for my ADAM speakers. And yes, I paid for everything that's here. If I like something, I buy it and I support it. If I don't like it, you can't give it to me. I'm not using it. And that's the only way you can work in this business for more than 5 seconds. If you start taking stuff that you don't really want just so you can say, look what I got, you're pretty much over. But this is my baby. This is my mom. This is Kitty. My mom passed away a couple years ago, so I really love playing this thing and thinking about her. This is my favorite thing in the world at the moment. My mother sang barbershop quartet singing, so I grew up around 4-part harmony. My cousin is Howard Leese. He's mostly known for Heart and Bad Company now. He was playing guitar and I was playing clarinet. And one day he put his arm around me and he said, "Do you ever want to get laid? Stop playing the clarinet." I said, okay. So I picked up the guitar at the age of 13. But the guy who was the doorman at Gazzari's when I was playing there was Greg Ladani, who became a very famous mixing engineer, recording mixing engineer. He did Jackson Browne and Toto and et cetera. And one day Greg said to me, you know, you're only going to play for so long. Learn a backup trade and I'll teach you how to engineer. Okay, that was it. I actually got to set up some mics on the Cars' first record and Foreigner Head Games in the summer with Roy Thomas Baker. They were all very nice to this little kid. Besides, getting coffee and washing the bathrooms, they taught me how to set up a microphone. And I believe that my guitar playing helped me be a better engineer because I really understood music from the band standpoint, what they're expecting it to sound like and what I would like it to sound like, and somewhere there's a happy medium. I lovingly call this my room, not a studio, because it's really a room, not a studio. As you know, everybody's doing stuff at home these days. And once I had the gear, I said, well, I could just mix wherever I am. So I started mixing at home. And I'm mixing with a DAW, but I'm mixing all analog after that. And it doesn't go back in. I don't print my mixes in. I print my mixes to a Tascam deck because what you hear analog, if you put it back in, then you're not really capturing the sound of the converters out in the oxygen land. So it never goes back in, it stays out, like old school. I always approach everything that I record from orchestra on down is I walk around, listen to the instruments, I find the sweet spot in every instrument and slam a microphone in it. Then you decide whether you want an Omni or figure 8 or cardioid, depending on who you got to capture more. If I go into a room and it's an acoustic guitar, I try and make it sound just like what I'm hearing, but better. If it's a cello, there's a sweet spot. You put a microphone up. If it doesn't sound better, go find a different microphone. Always move the mic, don't EQ. Move the mic, don't EQ. So my quote about ADAM speakers is that when I first saw them and I wanted to get them, I was thinking that I couldn't afford them. And after I bought them, all I could think was, I couldn't have afforded to not buy them. Learning how to mix on these was a matter of a couple of days. And I know that everybody says you have to learn what it is. The only thing I had to learn was how correct the bottom end was. I literally can mix on at minus 20 dB and you still can hear the thump of the kick drum. Moving to a 3-way speaker is not a little change. It's going from a VW Bug to a Ferrari. It's a whole other animal. So all of a sudden the vocals aren't being clouded by top of your snare drum. It's way different. And your vocals are just so clear in your face, and then you can hear the sparkle of the reverb above them. Is it too bright? Is it not too bright? There's all these decisions that you can make. And after all, it's all about what you hear is how you make your decisions. And if you're hearing with cotton in your ears, then those are the decisions you make. If you're on great monitors, then if your mixes come out bad, you really have to look in a mirror. It's kind of the deal. If you have questionable monitors, then you constantly question yourself. Is it me? Is it the monitors? Am I really hearing everything? So NS10s were always like that for me. I could mix on them, and then I always sent the mixes out going, oh, God, I hope I don't hear back. God, I hope I don't hear back. And I too much bass, not enough bass. Then I started mixing with a subwoofer in the NS10s. That finished that. But then it was, well, your cymbals aren't sparkly enough. Well, because they were killing my ears. I couldn't put any more top end on them. So then I did the old paper across the tweeter like everybody did. And I thought, God, this is really ridiculous. So then I was working on a new version of the concentric monitor that I don't want to say what brand it was, but they put a Linux computer in it to sort of solve the anomalies, and I was using those, and I was getting pretty good mixes from them until I had the ADAMs here for 2 weeks. I'm actually panning reverb tails now with automation because you hear the tail. And you go, well, why doesn't it go like that? There's all these cool things that you can do because you can hear. And I find that my panning is really incrementally different. I'm making very small movements and I used to try and put stuff out, but now there's little spots and you can really hear that you've nudged it in there. And the biggest thing about the ADAMS monitors for me is that if I play it really quiet for myself, or a client does come over and I crank it up for them, it sounds no different. It's not like all of a sudden it gets boomy and woofy and you don't hear anything. It just gets balls of steel. It's really, really good. They have 2 EQ patterns that are standard, and then you have user ones. And Alex had it set for the first one, and then we picked the more ADAMS type curve. I never looked back. I haven't changed anything. I haven't added 1 dB of bass. It was such a natural sound to my ear that there was absolutely no learning curve. It was, like I said, it was just the amount of bass, which is with all speakers. So right now I'm in the middle of recording a new Neil Citron solo record, and Robbie Pag from Ohm, which features Chris Poland from Megadeth, he's nice enough to play bass for me on this. And I also just finished a band from Brazil, and their record's going to be out in a month, and I finished it, and I had the band here cranking the heck out of the ADAM speakers. And all I can say is that the first mix that I played, the girl in the band is the drummer, and I put her in the front, and when the song was over, she was dead silent. I went, oh God, she hates it. And she turned around, she was crying. It was pretty crazy. That was like happiest moment in years that I've had, so I'm really happy.